Hello, hello. It's Sunday morning, completely different morning to which we usually do our Committed Parenting Facebook Live. And so we're joining you fresh and furious. And in case you're wondering, Szara's going to join us, and I'm just waiting to add her in. So just give me a minute. You can see I'm back in my van, even on a Sunday morning. Seems like the place to go. And I'm poking the button to have Szara join us. There we go. And in a minute, Szara will join us. And what we're talking about today is listening. Here we go. Szara! There we go.
Hello. Is that any better?
Much, much, much better.
Cool. I'm actually going to put earplugs in too so I can really hear you well.
That's brilliant.
Oh my gosh, you're loud and clear.
See?
Oh, it's
like
like music to my ears.
Awesome. So good Sunday morning to you.
Here I am back in Canada getting to be with you in this conversation.
And the best thing is I got to see you live yesterday.
I know. The centerpiece and all.
I was just going to say that. I took across a bowl of a succulent bowl for someone, and we were sitting in the ferry together, and it was like we brought our own centerpiece to be with on our table for our meal. We're pretty fancy like that.
Yes, we're so special.
Anywho, so what we're talking today was completing from last week of listening for. Yeah. And so
and looking at like what showed up, like when you were out there taking on listening, and really from that space of listening for, like what are you listening for in your conversation? And like, because putting on that, like it really actually puts on almost a filter of like what are we hearing and what are we listening for, so that we can pick up all that information and like listen for what we're actually committed to. And it was brilliant. Like I know for myself, the listening for, I love taking on these topics and digging in, because it gives me just such connection with my kids. So for a few days we were traveling to get back here to Canada, and coming from that listening for place made such the difference with my son Reed, who we were traveling with. And it's like I was listening for how brilliant he was. I was listening for how well he was doing. And it was so interesting because like it was so, like it was everywhere, like in everything he was saying, I could hear it. And by like me actually like kind of putting on these like glasses to listen for how great and brilliant he is, it's like that's all I could see. It was everywhere. And so then I could actually, you know, like share that to him, what I saw and I witnessed, and it just reinforced it and filled him up, filled me up. And there was a space of communication where I could really get his communication too. Oh, I'm going plug. Okay. Yeah. Well, it was. Yeah. It was brilliant. Just like I think we're on a leg. I think we're just like a 10-second leg. There's a lag going on. How about you share listening for? You share.
background. Just how's our laggy, Szara? Oh, she's being really quiet.
There's a lag, or there's something interesting going on.
What do you want to do? Okay, I'm going to keep talking then because you're really quiet. Okay, awesome. So then what I want to bring up is actually what we were taking on for this next week is what is distinguished, and it's written about everywhere, is active listening. And I know Sarah's going to chime in a minute because she really heard something really powerful for herself. But the one thing that really came up for me in active listening is the part we don't always pay attention to, and that is so much of our communication is in our nonverbals. And when we're not actually listening actively, we miss out on all that information that's coming our way. We don't make space for it. And I read some statistic, like most of our communication, there are all sorts of figures. I've heard 97% of our communication is in our nonverbals. But what I looked up recently, lots of our listening, actually 45% of our communication is in our listening and 30% of our communication is in our speaking. So there's all this other information that's going on while we're talking. And so in active listening, what I hear the opportunity is really and we started to talk about it, to be listening for something, but also not having to fill all the spaces either. So I'm just going to pause for a minute because then Sarah's going to say something.
No, I love what you just created, like active listening. Like listening for is really a form of active listening, right? Like
Yes.
It really is actually tuning us into what we're listening for, and we're picking up not just on what people are saying, we're hearing what they're committed to underneath of it, we're hearing what they're not saying, we're seeing their cues, we're seeing how they're holding their body, how they're interacting with us, we're seeing what emotions are there, and like so much gets picked up. Like that listening for example with Reed, like the other day with traveling with him, like I was listening for his brilliance, and in that, like I could be with all his communication. Like when he was on the plane, a 9-hour flight, 8 hours in, and he is just not happy. He is just like stomping, and it really was some people would say it would be really like aggressive kind of communication, but through that filter of listening for of how brilliant he was, I could actually get his communication that he was grappling and struggling and having a really hard time. And he was looking for a way to communicate that. And I could actually pick up and hear that for him and hear all the things he wasn't saying because I was like actively listening to him. And it was brilliant. And then this other thing with active listening that I've just explored that I love, that I'm really looking to take on like further this week and really diving in, is the intention. Like a lot of times when we speak and we're talking with somebody, we really want a certain intention delivered. We're really out to like they walk away from the interaction with certain kinds of information or certain communication. And it's interesting how often we don't actually get clear on that. And when I'm listening for people, I don't actually listen for that. Like what actually do they want me to walk away with? Like what information do they want me to have?
Yeah.
And sometimes it just seems like this passive interaction, like I'm going to hear whatever they say and I'm going to make whatever decisions about that, or I'm going to walk away with whatever I say I want to say about that. But really the communication is intended to deliver like from person to person. So it's like when I'm with somebody, it's like I actually want to start getting curious. Like what's their intention? What do they want me to know? What do they want me to walk away knowing? Not asking, is it right? Is it valid? Is it this? Is it that? But it's like, no, what do they want me to know?
Yeah.
And so to actually even start articulating that when I'm listening to somebody, to actually ask them, like if I'm not clear, if I'm getting curious, it's like, what do you really want me to know here? Like, what is your intention? Because I really want to listen to you with the intention you want me to listen to you with. And it's interesting, like my husband and I yesterday had an interaction like that. That was so brilliant because like I could tell like I was listening and I was hearing things and I was kind of like almost getting upset or offended by his communication. And I just like asked and checked in, like, Like, do you want me left with that? Like, what is it you want me to know here? And it wasn't even the communication he was intending to deliver at all that I was taking away from it. And so just even getting clear on what he wanted me to know and what he was out to deliver, it's like I could hear him that way. It's like, oh, I could hear his communication. So that's what I'm taking on this week with active listening, is to get clear on what people want me left with and what they're actually trying to communicate, so I can actively listen for that with them in partnership.
When we're just talking, actually interesting.
It, it's going all gargly for me, so I'm having a hard time hearing you, Helen. So my
No problem. Okay. Taking on this week is